But to get rid of ammonia, you need an organism that's much, much older than that, where you only maybe get 2 changes in a day. So consequently, because our permit is based around ammonia, we need a very old organism to eat. So we start building the biomass higher and higher and higher. Before the system, the new modification, we were running over 5,000 milligrams per liter, which is pretty much unheard of. But that's what the system was designed to do. So it was designed to be an extremely high rate, very heavy system. And that is how you got the biological nutrient removal that they could get. We now add this iron oxide, which provides a buoyant platform. And we're able to increase our biomass. By increasing our biomass, we're able to remove more and more constituents. You know, but imagine you take a flour and you put it in a mason jar and you shake it up and you see the milky liquid. Over the course of time, the flour settles. And it settles at a very slow rate, so about 8 hours later, you got a portion of clear water on top and the flour settled underneath. It's all milky, it gets milkier and whiter as it goes deeper. That's essentially what we do in the plant. We treat it, we allow the bacteria to eat, and then we settle them out. In the old days, it settled very slowly, and at the least disturbance would go out. Now, with the addition of the iron oxide, which is iron, it drops like a rock. We can take more load. We can remove more materials that are contaminants. We're able to make a better product. But when we were talking about it earlier, in 2000, our permit limitation is 359 kilograms per day of BOD allowed to go into the stream. In 2015, the year before the process went into full effect, we did 218 kilograms per day out of the 359. In 2016, we did 112. In 2017, when the system is fully operational and optimized, we did 66. So we reduced it by a magnitude over a 3-year period. Now that being said, all that sludge and contaminant that was going out into the stream is now in the plant. It's not going out anymore. It's now food for the organisms. Now I give them even more food and they grow faster and faster and faster. So it's almost like a perpetual motion machine. You're selecting for specific organisms that will do specific things, and if you're successful, you have to watch because they will be very successful. We are able to grow. We have oxygen uptake rates. A normal plant, you see maybe 30, 40, 50. High period, Los Angeles, and Wilmington, Delaware, 90, 110. We're doing 110 to 120 in our place. It just comes in, it rips through the place, and it goes out crystal clear. The problem is, the better performance I have, the higher this mixed liquor number I drive. Okay, so I start out at 5, I go to 7, now I'm at 9. The higher that number, the lower the result. The higher that number, the more chances of producing odors. Because one of the things that happens is, the older the sludge, the more inclined it is to be on that far end, what we call the endogenous phase of life. And when it dies, it expels these, it basically turns into more deterioratable compounds, of which sulfur is one. The organisms go into an environment where now the oxygen is limited, there's a lot of dead material, there's no oxygen, they can't get air, they have to respire, so what do? They go after another molecule that they can break. What can they do? They go after the sulfur. They go after the sulfur, which is sitting in the tank, they break the bond and hydrogen sulfide. That's the spell, okay? Also, iron oxide, you know, you think it's rust, it's paint pigment, okay? Okay, it's iron. What are you going to do? microorganisms that live in this soup that we create also have the ability to reduce iron oxide to iron sulfate. So in addition to all of the sulfur I'm putting into the tank, and all the dead material now, the dead cells, which now die in that tank, I'm putting reduced iron oxide, which is iron sulfate, giving it more sulfur. When United Water left in 2013, the operational rate level of the digester was 7 to 8 feet. When they left 7 point, I know I had it, I did it. So 7.5 feet was what was in there when they left. We typically operated that. Now as we went into 2016, we operated it at a lower level, in the 6 foot range, in order to maintain this odor control that we've been doing. We had to operate at 4 feet. So, you know, that's 40,000 gallons a foot every day that you have to maintain. So normally I'm already out of the box behind the 8 ball. So we pull down the air, we're adding, we begin adding, first we tried potassium permanganate, we tried sodium permanganate, we got a little bit of relief, not long term. We tried adding magnesium hydroxide in combination with the permanganates, wouldn't work. In the end, we go to an Evoqua product, which is similar, very similar to what they add in collection systems when they stink, but it's not normally the smell in a collection system that's the problem. It's low flow, and the hydrogen sulfide eats away the top of the pipes, because they're all used to be AC concrete with rebar in, and so they would eat away the top. So they would add this chemical called dioxide, which is a chlorine base, which would go through and basically kill everything. The problem with it is it's a much more concentrated solution, but it's chlorine based, okay? I can't take chlorine and put it in a living biomass. It's like adding penicillin from a factory into your wastewater plant. Bad things are gonna happen. Similarly, if this chlorine-based product gets mixed in the unit process to try to head it off, it won't work. It'll kill everything, and it won't work. So what we decided to do was to return the plant to its operational level in 2016. So the sludge is too old, and I got beat up in 14. That was because we knew that we could lose 10% of this biomass. These tanks have been off since 1990, so in 2013, I decided I'm gonna start. I'm gonna take them down and see what's inside them. Oh, there's nothing inside them, it's all been ripped out. We take it all the way down, and lo and behold, there's diffusers in there. So we climb in the tank, we fix it. We start fixing everything, Union Square break occurs. Everybody gets detoured. This is in May. We know we got a window now before spring hits. We're trying desperately to get this thing done. Union Square break occurs, everybody gets detoured and doesn't come for 2 weeks. And we don't get back on the job until 2 weeks later. What happens then? The weather breaks. I start filling the tank. I should have been smarter, because instead of filling the tank with water, I was in a hurry. I said, just waste into it. Let's get it filled. So we start transferring sludge into the tank, okay, instead of water. What we don't realize is that the depth is actually greater because of the cone, okay? So instead of taking 2 days to fill, it takes almost 3 days. By the time we hit it with air, it's like the end of the earth. You think it's bad, okay? It's wicked bad. It's like dog cemetery bad, okay? It is bad. We had a meeting on a Tuesday. We kept trying to get, one of the things you can do is raise the pH, raise the pH, raise the pH. If you can get the pH high enough, you can break you can break the chemical reaction. We keep hammering it day after day after day with lime and mag hydroxide. We start getting the pH up. I have a meeting on Tuesday. I say I need 3 more days. Wednesday morning, the Lehigh Valley Times shows up, and Harry calls me right before they do, and he says, you gotta shut it down, but he said, the press is coming to talk to you, I sent them over. And lo and behold, they did. So, we shut it down, knowing that we were gonna have to start it again. So over the course of the next couple of years, I start working it, okay? A little bit here, a little bit there. I figured, all right, I'm gonna run it in the winter. No one's out in the winter time, okay? I can get away with this. We crank it up, we get it going and everything else, then the process starts. Then the new system starts coming in. The problem with anything new is you gotta figure out exactly where you're going with it. It was a very new process. No, we had seen it up in Sturbridge. I knew some of the guys that had actually designed it. I had worked with them when I was with Metcalf and Eddie up in Boston. But it was always, you had to be a good operator to do it. It was very specific. You needed a skill set, you needed support skill sets, you needed somebody that knew how to use an abacus and someone that could run a computer and fix that, figure and use a multimeter. So, we started it up, we got it up and running. We had really good success with it. But as the solids started to build, it became clearer and clearer that there was an issue with the odors. So we had started to address it, but we get it, it would go away, we get it under control. Meanwhile, the whole time we're shifting tanks around, putting new equipment on. So we know probably half of this is because we're shifting tanks around and everything. We have to wait until we have steady state operation. Finally, we get steady state operation. We're having a terrible time treating the sludge. We can't get it to flocculate, we have problems everywhere. So we asked the VOPA, guys, listen, when the process went in, did you have any issues with the sludge? No. So I asked it a different way. I said, did any of the plants that you put this in before have to change their power? Oh yeah, all of them did. Okay, that's the answer. So then we go in and start trying to make efficiencies by changing the chemical additives we're getting to get a flocculated mass. That works. We get that straightened out. But in order for me to get the efficiencies, and this was, even with you guys yelling at me the whole time since last year, okay, because this actually came up in last year, in 17, in the summer of 17. I was focusing on those results. I was focusing on the efficiencies that I was getting out of the plant. I was less concerned because I believed that I could get better control of the sludge production by running the mixed liquors even higher. I would minimize that activity. It was too old. It was too heavy. I couldn't control it. Every time I would get the level up above 6 feet, I'd get a phone call. Hill Street was my bane. I would be up on Hill Street all the time, and I know, I go up there, I have the oxygen sensors, I have the hydrogen sulfide meters, I get nothing there. I go up on Delaware Heights, I get nothing up there. I come down to the plant, I know where it is, I find it. Okay, it's 3 coming off this blue tank. It's 3 coming off the digester. Well, that's where it's coming from. Hydrogen sulfide, you can smell it greater than 1 part per million, but if you're sensitive to it, you can smell it at less. Okay? Action item, 300 parts per million. Okay, so it's not like it's not toxic, it's irritating. It affects the quality of life. And trust me, I get enough phone calls that I know it is affecting the quality of life.
You told me it was allowed to hand your number out.
So, yeah, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with a citizen calling me and complaining, and I will come out and check it. But there's limitations to function. The plant was designed in 1950. There is no odor control at the plant. there never was.
Council President,
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Dan, it seems like you're on a good run lately. The last couple of weeks, the complaints have died down. I'm not sure if the council president has heard.
What we
But
did-
I've been up on the hill, I've been down to your plant, and the misters are having some effect, but I know Dennis wants to enhance that or make it more efficient.
I heard the
I
other,
think
the other
council
night it
needs to
wasn't
know that.
effective, somebody indicated.
Right,
that.
over the past 48 hours, I've gotten a multitude of complaints with
Oh,
regard.
you have?
Yeah, over the
Yeah.
past
Well,
48
the
hours.
with their 8 o'clock, it was horrendous with the windows up in the air conditioner.
Right.
It was so bad.
So for the sake of time, because I did promise everyone a short meeting tonight, and I can tell you, you know your stuff, without a doubt.
There ain't no doubt about that.
You definitely know your stuff. I think you know his stuff. We have two problems that we have, and one of them is that we need to adopt a plan of action tonight that includes the methods of funding, right?
Right. The Council President, just one thing. So Dan, we kind of knew, and Dennis validated it, we knew that with the new mag system years ago, there would be this odor problem in the future. Just wasn't, we weren't sure how bad it would be. But limited funding, couldn't do anything, and we're here today. Is that a good analysis?
Yeah, we knew that we've known there's been an issue all along, and we opted for we hit the biggest targets first.
Okay, so now DEP's happy with you because the Delaware River is cleaner, but the Delaware River Basin Commission, we're not out of the woods yet. We got phosphorus levels to worry about.
Right, those
Well,
are big.
Yeah.
Right.
We,
Part of this project was to address the phosphorus limit.
with the biomag?
We could,
No.
we relocated the outfall to within the confluence of the Delaware River, so we got out of the trout stream.
C1 trout stream.
Yeah,
So are we safe with phosphorus?
We're round 2 right now. If we ever increase the capacity of the plant,
Yeah.
you're gonna get hit with something, have to do something with the phosphorus. You're okay with the phosphorus right now, but
I wouldn't want
won't be
council
okay
or-
in the future. But they were gonna give you a 0.2 limit, which
So-
we had tried to, you're looking at that.
And they're coming closer up the river, Dan, they're moving closer and closer. I just don't want the council to be misled thinking, okay, we solved the problem with odor, and then you get whacked with a
Did they get back to us
phosphorus issue.
from?
Right, that's what I was just about to ask. Does this
Like-
plan,
Like, we look at the past, they did significant improvements and cleaned up the river, but we ended up with an odor problem. I don't want to fix the odor problem and say, oh, I don't want to use the word SHIT, but we have a phosphorus problem. So Dennis, you seem comfortable
Yes.
right now.
With the relocation of the outfall, which that was $1 million of that project, to relocate the
All right,
outfall.
so we're at the stage.
It's the cheapest way to address the long term.
so that's included in here then, right?
That was included in the previous
already
biomag
done.
project.
Yeah.
I think that's where
Excuse me, give me a heart attack if I just spent more money.
No, that's already done.
Okay.
So now it's a matter of funding, and that's why we're here.
Great, so that's the first thing on the table.
Can I ask a couple more questions?
You already know everything, you even repeat everything you're saying.
You're right, I do know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway
All
for the
right,
benefit
please,
of
please do,
everybody
Vice
else.
President, please.
So, Dan, if I came to you Friday and said, we're going to have 2.5 million increased flow, what would you say to me? Do we have enough capacity or do we have an issue? Because you mentioned IR was 2 million. Should that come online in the next 2 years after we close on something that's got 2 years on it, in addition to ascending district development about to take place, which would be in Lopakon, I believe. What are we looking at? The last thing we would want to do is go out and have $3 million and find out we need another $1.5 million investment to put another tank in because we don't have enough capacity.
I think the long-range plan for the plant is to add another tank.
Yeah.
Long range, what's long range? 10 years, 20 years, 50?
Five.
I'll be dead, I don't care.
Yeah. Those millions dropped to 10,000 per day. It's
So
at
5 years I
10,000.
care about. That, to me, that's
Right,
short.
right.
Yeah.
But
Especially
5
after it's going to take 2 years to get going. So
The problem that you're gonna have is that, to be
Is that
perfectly
right?
honest, you have a lot of environmental
it's
disposal
dropped to
units out there,
10,000 a day. We signed it.
open on the street, owned by other municipalities that you don't own.
Millions ago.
If they call them in,
Right.
you
Right.
gotta provide service or they're gonna sue you,
They'll sue us, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm going there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So this
So we-
this is where the catch.
warehousing.
Sandy, stop us anytime.
here's the catch.
This is the catch.
See, I was subtle.
Your permit doesn't have a flow limit. You have maximum loadings that you put in the stream. So if you go over this 4.5 MTD, which is theoretical plant rating, and you have violations, they're gonna put a moratorium on you. So you can go above the 3.5 million, and what happens is if you go to re-rate the plant, now the Special Protection Water Acts kick in, and you get very stringent limits. So your limits, your discharge is gonna be, so you're almost better to go above your limits to a certain point, as long as your plant's performing.
Which is where this project with the sewers come in. Because when it rains, you can pick up 1 million gallons just from sump pumps. And there's no sewer ordinance here that allows for example, someone sells their house, no one goes in and inspects and says, hey, you're connected to the sanitary sewer, that pipe. You gotta separate it and put it out the window.
If
No
you're
one
gonna have
does that.
violations, it's gonna be on wet weather events, because that's when you get this big rush of the plant, and we wash everything out. These are biological.
We can have a normal flow of, let's say 3 million gallons in a day. We can get a rain event, we'll go to 13 million gallons. I got pictures of 13 million running through that plant,
But the
okay?
biomag has helped, because now you're not getting 100 milligrams, you may be going up to 30, 40 on those wet weather events. So the biomag has helped with that stormwater flows.
And
which
and that's your output, not your input.
Right, that's it.
That we talked
The
about.
input coming in, we're putting out, we have a 98% removal, sometimes 99% removal. So we have coming into the plant a BOD of, say, 350, we have TSS of 400, 280, 300. We're putting out 2.3, 3.5. So we're reducing this stuff down to almost nothing, going out much.
As infiltration lessens, you improve, correct?
Correct. That also has a basis on how much I can treat. If I remove 1 million gallons out of the system, that's 1 million gallons more I can treat,
Okay.
okay? So,
We're on it.
Well, some of the Senate districts have major problems with their I&I also.
It's bad. Low pack, I hope there's nobody here from PAC. No offense intended, but there are surrounding communities that have very serious problems, Council President and Council, that are sending us a lot of fresh water and inundating the plant. Is that correct, Dennis?
That is correct.
Yeah. So it's not just us. It just seems they pick on us.
Councilman, did you have a question for Dennis?
Yeah, I did. Where would you put the other tank?
right next to it. We have room right next to the tank number 7.
That's which side of the,
Right towards the railroad track.
toward the road?
In theory, when I guess they had these shovel-ready projects, we sort of rushed the project and we got 50% funding. They had an extra tank number 7 at that point in time. So we can take advantage of that funding opportunity. That really would allow us to re-rate the plant to 4.3 million gallons in the future, because the existing 6 tanks were 3.5 million. But we went to the DP, wasn't to increase the capacity, but it would allow you to take other tanks out of service and still have the 3.5 million capacity. So there is a little bit of play in there to allow to re-rate in the future, but that re-rate is going to kick in the higher effluent limits, which we will have to.
Do you always have an empty tank for repairs and stuff? Do you?
No.
No,
A
really?
lot of times they're all in operation.
All in operation?
Right.
Wow. So you have no backup?
Share the Delaware River pump station system.
You can,
Yeah.
You know, we can take a tank offline and increase the concentrations in it. We do it on a fairly regular basis. We inspect them all, one after another. Or if we have a problem with the diffuser, or, you know, we had a VFD blowout of the wall the other day. We had to take the tank offline for a couple of days. So we have the ability to do
To
that.
do that, okay.
Right. But the biomag is what now allows me to do that with much more frequency. To address the issue of capacity, the easiest way to do it is to give us an equalization tank. One of the problems I have is everything comes in a certain amount of time. Diurnal is 24 hours, I get it in 16. All the flow for the place.
when we did the biomag project, the original design had an equalization tank with it. And the DEP and the River Basin Commission said, that's increasing the plant capacity. And therefore, it's kicking the new limits and we'll say, well, we'll take it out, we'll take it out of the flow work at this point in time. And then there was the issue with one of the sending districts contracts says that they won't contribute towards any upgrades, so.
But there's been times I stood with Dan late at night and he's calling another plant operator saying, send it now, stop, send it now, stop, just to handle the I&I and the sewage treatment. It's insane. It's not just Phillipsburg, that's the point.
It's an old system, you know, 1897,
Yeah.
okay? That's when these pipes went in the ground. Riverside Way Pump Station, 1884 it went in. They used to treat, all the sewer used to run down Riverside Way, they'd screen it and pump it into the river. That's what they did. That's why it's 2 stories, the guy used to sit up top. Right? So this is a 100-year-old system.
Yeah.
So it's, eventually you gotta maintain it, you know, I mean,
With regard to Riverside Way, with the redevelopment plan, does that include?
It does.
They're gonna dig that up,
It
right?
Relocates it and improves it until it's below ground.
Okay, good.
On the contractor's back.
That's even better.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Harry asked me one time, can I hide the platform? He says, can't you make it look like a cell tower or something? I said, I don't know, I could put, I guess tree limbs on it or something.
We're gonna decorate it.
That's innovative. We did have a question, Councilwoman, for CFO Merlin.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Dennis, you may have answered this or not, but it was my understanding, the reason we did the 3 EIT projects was geared towards re-rating the sewage plant, wasn't it? Wasn't that the initial reason we did all those?
He's smiling.
Uh-oh.
The studies?
Go away from Alphen. Huh?
Question?
No, the reason that we did the 3 EIT votes, the biomag, the street,
Ultra
I thought that was all geared
Part
towards
of
re-rating
the
the
system
system.
was, we got a new copper limit, and we got a new phosphorus limit. And they were gonna be almost impossible to meet. The copper limit that we got was more restricted than the water that's coming from Aqua to the residents. So it's like, this is ridiculous. So we were able to do a stream study and go back and do a water effects ratio, and they eliminate the copper. But for the phosphorus, we had to relocate the outfall. And then, yes, we were thinking in the future how we can get closer to being able to handle. We were dealing with the issue with we were having the stormwater flows. We were getting those discharges where they did those permanent violations, which were minor, but they were starting to detract that. So that was part of the reason. But there was certainly an eye towards being able to re-rate the plant in the future.
Weren't they talking, where we at 3 something now, or?
Or 3.5 is what we're rated. We have enough tanks to be rated to 4.3, but we still wouldn't be. We could meet our current limits from 4.3, but you're going to have to do some additional treatment to be able to meet the new limits. Now, we've already met with the Delaware River Basin Commission because they have mandatory limits that go into effect, but they allow you to do core mix modeling where you actually run a model out into the river and you're allowed to take a certain mixing zone, take credit for certain things.
Same way.
And we had done a 1 mile mixing zone based on in dealing with them. And that gave us much more favorable limits, which puts us very close to it. But at that point in time, they came back and said, well, what would it be with a half mile mixing zone? But we stopped at that point in time because it was like, we didn't want to keep running models for something that we weren't moving forward at the time. But we do have that option in the future to do actually modeling and show that what the actual impact would be to try to get a more relaxed limit than what these arbitrary limits. It was ridiculous. What they did is they took your plant performance in 2005 for a period of time. And since they did really well that summer, they're saying that's the load you're going to hold in the future no matter what you do. So say we're allowed to do 20 milligrams per liter, BOD 30. That summer we have to be around 7 or something. So, and then you calculate the pounds. So that's the loading beyond you have to hold in the future unless you do this modeling to do it. So it's.
And if all else
That's a little
fails, Dan
issue.
sinks the boat.
So I couldn't just re-rate it tomorrow without doing maybe an equalization tank or doing maybe something on the phosphorus net with some kind of chemical addition, but that would have to be looked at. But you're not restricted to the 3.5 at this point in time. So I would push forward. We're still $1 million away. There's a lot of capacity there. We deal with the I&I. We may not get above the 3.5 for a long time.
So we gotta raise money.
And the other thing that's happened is, every appliance, everywhere, everybody replaces their appliance, the water efficiency, everywhere across the state, the wastewater flows have gone down over the years. We're around the 2.4 million at this point in time. There's some development where we were averaging around 2.6, maybe 7, 8 years ago. So the water saving fixtures and things like that have driven down. So that has increased some of the capacity we have in the plant.
Our bigger fear was always that the RBC, the first words out of their mouths when we come to re-rate, wouldn't be done about the I&I,
Yeah.
you know? And then it's like,
We have thrown in money.
and the idea that they would give it to us without doing that is, I think, slim and young.
Any increase above the 3.5 million gallons implicates contract issues with the sending municipalities that would have to be addressed. So it's not just a technical issue, there's some contractual issues.
Council Vice President.
2 questions for Bob Merlo, actually, if he's prepared to answer them. If not, if you could just send it to me. The current debt for the town as a whole, what percentage is that of our municipal budget? If not, you can get back to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get back on
Okay,
that.
I didn't know
Yeah.
if you ballpark know it. And the second part of that is, overall, what percentage of that debt is sewer debt?
I believe it's less than 1% presently. No, wait a minute, I'm sorry.
I'd
I'm
be
thinking of
surprised
equal-
looking
I'm
at
thinking of the
this.
equalized, our equalized ratio.
Okay.
We're less than 1%. I'll have to check and see what the whole thing is.
Yeah, those are,
Yeah.
before we look to triple it or,
Well, we are talking about 2 separate things now. You have the town debt, that gets paid out of current fund. Everything that we're talking about now gets paid out of sewer utilities.
sewer utility, which I can see the debt service
Yeah.
to have a good handle on it.
And keep in mind, we just applied for an $8 million EIT loan for the sanitary sewer and storm drain. So that's sitting out there with a $400,000 debt service. So, you have that, and now you just, now we're talking about another $3 million EIT loan with probably, $2 million or so debt service. And when you look at our excess of revenues, when we look at the self-liquidating, do we generate enough revenue to sustain ourselves? That's where I started to get a little nervous, thinking, we're gonna have a $400,000 debt service once we start this, the sanitary storm. Probably another $200,000 when we do the odor control. The cost